What's up, good people? Thank you for tuning in to the show that is called The Grown Man Hour. I'm your host, Bernard Riley, and you know how I do here. I attack ideas and not people. And today I'm going to be attacking the ideas that was put forth in Elle magazine by Nicole Young, where she more or less put together what I do consider to be a hit piece on the Black Manosphere. So we're going to be digging in and getting into that. Elle magazine, as I understand it, is a huge worldwide mainstream publication. So the Black Manosphere is getting mainstream criticism, and I love it. And I love it. So let's go. Now this will be a shorter video because I can't. Now this will be a shorter video because I can't focus on everything that was discussed in this entire article. There's a lot of other really good content creators that have done a great job talking about that. I'll put their links in the description. There's only one part of it that I'm going to really focus on, and another part that I'll talk about towards the end. But the first part that I really, really want to examine, and I'm going to pull it up right now and show it to you. Okay, there's one thing in particular that was said in the article. I'm going to quote it quickly so I can get right into my commentary because I don't want this to be too long. And it says, within the Black Manosphere's fiefdom, there are many subgroups, rival influencers, competing philosophies, and myriad content creators, but each of them contain one common thread: a concerted, explicit disdain for Black women. A concerted, explicit disdain for Black women. Now, in the name of being precise, I just pulled up the definition of disdain, and it reads, the feeling that someone or something is unworthy of one's consideration or respect. Contempt. That is the definition. And I will say, yes, guilty as charged for some behaviors by some Black women. Guilty. There are some of them that are contemptible. There are some of them that are unworthy. Yes. Yes. Now, she didn't use the word all, so I'm going to take it at face value that she was generalizing, but I'm sure she has a problem with our generalizings. That's the reason she comes up with the wording of that sentence saying that there's a concerted, explicit disdain for Black women. But if we really examine the manosphere, do we really see that in the context that she was trying to portray there? And moreover, the context that she was trying to portray in the rest of the article. In the article, she talked about how she interviewed Mad Bus Driver X. He's the founder of SYSBM, Save Yourself, Black Man. I'm not even going to get into all the tenets of that, but Mad Bus Driver X says that he's not a part of the Black Manosphere. He says SBM, true to the tenets of what SYSBM is about, they're not a part of the Manosphere, or more specifically the Black Manosphere, because in their eyes we have different views or different goals. And that was written right in her article. So if the group of people who are more or less saying that American Black women are not to be dated at all. So if this particular subgroup with a competing philosophy, as you described it in your article, if they don't necessarily associate themselves with the Black manosphere because of a different philosophy, the first question you should ask yourself, well, what about the Black manosphere's philosophy is different, to the point that a group called SYSBM, Save Yourself Black Man, does not want to be associated, or at least the main founder, the creator of it, who wrote the tenets of it, does not want to be associated with it, or does not consider himself to be a part of it. You should be asking what's different. Well, let's examine it from the top. Let's go right to the founders of the Black Manosphere, one of which that you interviewed, Mumia Obsidian Ali. Let's examine it from that perspective. Okay, let's look at Obsidian. Let's look at O'Shea Duke Jackson. Let's look at Angry Man. So let's look at O'Shea Duke Jackson. O'Shea Duke Jackson is pro-Black. He believes Black men should only be with Black women. He doesn't believe that Black men should date out at all. Mumia Obsidian Ali, who you interviewed, I think he's probably even slightly more strict in that because he just recently on my show was asked about dating black women in the diaspora and other places, whether it's Brazil or, he says he pretty much more or less said that the preference should be American black women. We have a unique situation here. The African descendants of slaves, so to speak, and unique problems, unique issues that he thinks should be worked on together. Angry Man, if you watch his videos, he has a ring on his finger. His wife, I believe it is, has a ring on the finger. I hesitate when I said wife. I don't know the exact situation. I just know they wear rings. I don't know if they went down and signed some legally binding documents at the courthouse, but I do know and understand that they're either married or de facto married. But one thing is non-negotiable. He's a family man. He believes in family traditional values. So that's right there from the founders. That's right there from the founders. And if you look at the biggest, most popular voice, Kevin Samuels was married twice to a black woman and advocates for marriages, advocates for black men and black women getting together, but on the black man's terms. And I think that's the biggest issue that you have here. The black men in the black manosphere from the top up. I talked about O'Shea, talked about Angry Man, talked about Obsidian, talked about Kevin Samuels. All of them are for, in favor of, or at least okay with black men and black women getting together and building families. None of them are against that. Even the other people that you mentioned in your article, Mr. Palmer, he's married. Dr. Thunder, he's married. Even the people that you referenced in your article and in the case of Obsidian interviewed don't carry that disdain that you speak of. What happens in the black manosphere is quite often an accurate critique using facts, stats, data, and overall black men giving their perspective on dating and mating relationships when it comes to black men and black women dating each other, and just the overall interactions with the black women and the varying social dynamics between black men and black women. That's what is happening here. Black men are discussing that, and you don't like what's being said. But to try to make it seem or depict it as some hate group, that's ridiculous. The only point that I'll concede is that, yes, there are probably some smaller content creators, and more specifically, some people in chat rooms that say a lot of crazy stuff. And sometimes we let it go, sometimes we stop it. But either way it goes, the black manosphere is about black men speaking their mind. And it's going to be rough sometimes. It's going to be harsh sometimes. It's going to be some locker room talk. And it's going to be some factual stuff that you may have a problem with that's not a trope when there's facts behind it, as you kept trying to bring up the term trope over and over again in your conversation with Obsidian. A lot of it isn't a trope if there's facts behind it. If someone says that black women are the most sexually irresponsible, that's not a trope if we can pull out data that shows that they have more STDs than every other group of women. That's not a trope if we can put facts and stats behind it. It's something that a black man who is sexually responsible does need to think about when he's dating black women. That's the conversation that black men are having. Now, I want to move on and play a very brief part of her conversation with Obsidian, where she said she was shocked when she read in his book that he said that when he said to black men that you're not entitled to anything when it comes to black women.
I was surprised to see that what was it? Maybe it was like the fourth commandment where you're like, black women don't have to choose you. I was surprised at that. I really was. But
really, why was you surprised?
I think because for me, my experience of the manosphere, the underlying piece here in all of the pieces that I've listened to or read is this idea that black women should be choosing whoever the content creator is, whoever the writer is, whoever the video maker is, that they should be. And that a lot of the anger or the kind of theories that I'm hearing come out are from people who feel like they should be getting something that they're not getting. So I was.
Well, now would be a good time to admit that your underlining assumption was wrong, even if Obsidian, who has been accused of that, has put it in his book. Put it in his book that black women are not obligated to choose you. You're not entitled to them. You're not guaranteed anything from them. He put that in his book. So your underlying assumption that all of the arguments that are being made, all of the points that are being made, whether in videos or in written format, are being made because this person is just saying that these women should choose me, these women should pick me. Clearly that was a faulty assumption.
Is that they should be, and that a lot of the anger or the kind of theories that I'm hearing come out are from people who feel like they should be getting something that they're not getting. So I was surprised that you were like, Black women.
How's that any different from what goes on with Black women and what they've been doing for decades?
I don't know that it is. I didn't make any statements that it was. There seems to be like a presumption that I should get this thing, right? And so I was surprised that you said that no one should. There's no should there.
What's interesting to me is what you don't see on the Black female side. You don't see anything like that.
I just noticed, though, in the book also, I'm curious about this. I also asked, who did I talk to? I talked to Mad Bus Driver X about SYSBM.
When he said that to her, she paused 6 to 8 seconds of dead air and then changed the subject. I'm going to play the dead air again.
What's interesting to me is what you don't see on the Black female side. You don't see anything like that.
I just noticed, though, in the book also, I'm curious about this. I also asked, who did I talk to? I talked to Mad Bus Driver X about SYSBM. There's no mention of Black queer people in your book. Like, and you say at the beginning, you're like, I'm not a homophobe, etc. And
all right. She did a strong pivot and about face out of that one, but I wanted to play that part because one thing that I do want to make clear, that with all the things that are being said in the Black manosphere, it is a concerted effort to critique each other. Iron sharpens iron. When somebody does go too far where they're saying something that's not making sense, or they're coming off as entitled in any way, shape, or form, it gets criticized by the other people. Those were those competing factions that you talked about earlier. Obsidian made a grand slam out of the park home run with that one when he said you don't see that on the female side. It's you see them wanting everything, expecting to get everything, mad when they don't get what they want. It's the fault of men, it's the fault of the patriarchy, or in the case of Black women, it's the fault of racism, it's the fault of everything in the world. The guy that you name it, they will find every little reason. That's why if you watch the video, the full video that I just played, she talked about fatism, fat phobia, colorism. You name the ism and obia. She talked about it. She threw it out on the table. When it comes to Black men having these conversations, yeah, we could talk about a guy being non-select, but then there's also a conversation that Obsidian has actually been a big part of lately, on how you could supersede that by increasing your value, becoming successful, and doing these things and doing that thing, and all, so that's the conversation here. On the other side is pure delusion and blaming other people for said shortcomings. The notion, the idea that every woman can have it all and expect it all and demand it all off the strength that she's a woman and she deserves it because she's a woman. You don't get that over here. So the hit piece charging us up with this disdain, this hatred, this entitlement, and all the other things that talked about is completely bunk. Completely bunk. But overall, that's the video. I wanted to keep it short. I went longer than what I expected here. Like, share, subscribe, and all of that good stuff. Thanks for watching. I'm out.